hello, everybody. Jason up, New Age Revolution down here in the cave. If you are football fans, it is championship weekend, championship Sunday. The Chiefs are currently dominating the Bengals, and the Rams and the Niners are tonight. We are rooting for the Niners for financial reasons. So, here we go. Since it's championship weekend, it's time to continue my favorite WWF LJN Wrestling Superstars figure tournament. We are here in the third round, and we have 4 third-round matchups today, and I can tell you this is going to be devastating. This is going to be devastating. There are figures in this batch of 8 right now that I don't want to lose, but they're going to. So, first up, boy oh boy, first up is Jimmy Snuka taking on Kamala. This is tough. This is very tough. I did not expect Kamala to be this deep in the tournament. But through sitting here and talking about each matchup, I convinced myself in the moment to move him on. Jimmy Snuka, we've talked about before, had very limited play with me. But the reason that he has advanced so far is because he's one of the first 5. And he falls into that visually iconic category that I keep. I think somebody needs to make me a visually iconic t-shirt. Before we go on, that t-shirt joke just reminded me. I am on the hunt for, so the AEW Jazzwares figures has put out a Sting, and it's a Walmart exclusive, which means impossible to find and stupidly priced on eBay. So if any of you around the country happen to be at your Walmart and happen to see a AEW Sting figure, I think for $19.99, do not hesitate and grab him or them. I need 2. I got 2 of those little people upstairs. So I need 2 of those figures. I will continue to look myself. But if you find the AEW Walmart exclusive Sting, get them. And I will update. If people find them for me or if I find them, I'll let you know. But I will pay you the cost of the figure, a finder's fee, and shipping. So let me know if you find the AEW Sting. Back to the tournament. Jimmy Snuka has advanced because he's in the top 5. First 5, sorry. Jimmy Snuka has advanced because when I look at this figure, I think of childhood. When I look at Sheik, when I look at Stud, when I look at Hogan, I think of childhood. When I look at Savage, I think of childhood. When I look at the LJN ring, boom, childhood. Okay? So he's moved on for those reasons. Now, Kamala is an interesting figure because when I got him in '87, he played a role as a bad guy, in '87, but he could have easily been pushed back to 1984 Kamala, when he was just an absolute, terrifying bad guy in Mid-South and for a little bit in WWF before he came back around again. But Kamala was legit back in, he got silly and goofy as WWF does to everybody later on in the late 80s. And I think even early 90s for Kamala. But 84 Kamala is a bad man. He's scary. And he had an incredible cage match with Andre at Maple Leaf Gardens. Visually iconic versus played a bigger role in the Fed. I think you're going to be surprised here, but I am eliminating Jimmy Snuka. And Kamala is moving on. Honestly, he's moving on further than I would have thought. I don't know. I think the road probably ends for Kamala here. I don't know who he's facing in the next round. Next up, oh God, I don't even know. I don't even know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. We've got SD Jones versus Hogan. Now, again, if you haven't been watching, if you're not following along, if you haven't, if you don't know my history with these figures, you're like, why is SD Jones even in there? But no, SD Jones, again, has so much play history in my childhood, and he's the perfect LJN pose. He's the perfect LJN pose. And he's got 2 figures, which doesn't make any sense at all. He's got 2 figures. And then you got Hogan. You got Hogan, who just represents so much. Represents our childhoods in just a glimpse. You glimpse at this figure, you're rocketed back to childhood. Absolutely. The first championship belt accessory on the Hulk. It's got a little tear in the belt. I want to see if I can, yeah. The first championship belt accessory. And as a kid, I was making championship belts all the time because I would wrestle stuffed animals in my family room. I had a big old carpeted family room. And I would wrestle stuffed animals in my family room, and I would always make, construction paper or poster board, cardboard, whatever. I would make championship belts. And I think the fantasy toy at the time was an actual championship belt. And I remember one year, well, because like I've said in other episodes, accessories get lost. They get lost, they're disappeared forever, they're gone. The house eats them for some reason. But I remember not having any more championship belts. They were gone. And that's why I don't yell at my kids today when they have probably 60 elites and 20 or 30 or 35 AEW. They have all, anything that AEW's put out besides the women figures they have. And they've got a sick amount of elites. And I'm always on them, like, why can't you find your Finn Balor jacket? Where would it go? And then I'm like, whoa, just stop. Don't do it. Because you, sir, lost all your crap at age 8, including the championship belt. So one year, I went to the dentist. Not just one year. I'd gone previously. And, you get a cleaning, and then you get a prize, right? And I went into the prize bin, and they had a watch, a plastic watch. It was a red watch, right? Plastic doesn't work really. It's not really a watch. It probably had like a, what is it, lenticular? Is that what it's called? Where, face on it, where the time would kind of change. But as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, I finally have a belt for Hulk Hogan. So I got the watch with the sole purpose of using it as a world title belt. So Hogan had a red watch as a world championship belt because I lost the original belt. SD Jones is a very, very important figure in the childhood, but Hulk Hogan is the childhood, ladies and gentlemen. Hulk Hogan moves on. But I'll tell you this, SD Jones is a top 5 LJN. 100%. Ugh. Ricky Steamboat and Iron Sheik. Once again, Iron Sheik with that beautiful green custom belt from XOX. Go on Etsy, XOX by Random Treasures, grab yourself belts. if you've lost your belts like me, if you just need more, you're going to pay a tenth, right? About that. If you know, don't go on eBay to try to buy these belts. Forget about it. Go to XOX. They're the same deal. In fact, they're a little longer. So I think they make them a little longer so you don't have to worry about, the fat wrestlers not fitting. But look at that. That's just not a painted belt. That's a custom job, right? That's a real rubber belt that's printed, and here it is. It's the real thing. And it's beautiful, and it's floppier than the originals. So I like that, actually. Anyway, they got all different colors. I'm trying to get this back on the Sheik. I don't like this matchup, so I'm going to delay it. I'm going to try to get this belt on and delay the matchup. Steamboat and the Iron Sheik. Iron Sheik was huge as a kid. Huge figure. Again, one of the first 5. The WWF LJN commercial where he's, busting in the house, kicks through the door, just does his Iron Sheik pose. What was he doing? Like, he always would brush off his abs. Like when he was posing, he'd be like, "Look at me, cameraman." A ton of play. Ridiculous amounts of play. Tag team champion. A go-to figure if you want to have a match. Just a random match. You grab the Sheik. Ricky Steamboat. Ricky Steamboat was a constant main event figure. Constantly never was not played with. Like, there might have even been a time when I was like, Iron Sheik's not around anymore. He's out for a while. Ricky Steamboat, whether he was, I don't know. Well, he was always an important part of the WWF. But he was always played with. He was always a heavyweight title contender. Always an Intercontinental Champion. I think he had a brief run. I think I teamed him up with Tito Santana or something. I don't know, briefly. But, it's the only figure with these open hands, these hands. And to me, that's a chop hand. So I would always do the chop, on the top of the head. And then he'd always do those short thrusts, those short karate thrusts. And then to the head, and then boom, the crescent kick or the sabat kick or whatever it is. Right? Tough thing here to say goodbye to one of these guys. I mean, Iron Sheik is etched in my brain as just a beautiful, beautiful childhood relic. But Ricky Steamboat could be the winner of this whole thing. Ricky Steamboat defeats the Iron Sheik, ladies and gentlemen. All right, and the matchup that is going to kill me, it's going to kill me. We're going to decide it together. I don't know how to decide this. It's Greg Valentine against Terry Funk. I can't decide. I don't know. I don't know. The history with me and Funk. It's just a great figure. It's a great figure. It's a heck of a fine play pose. Incredible accessories, the branding iron. And again, as a kid, the branding iron lasted about 3 hours in my house. 3 hours I had a branding iron. And then it was gone. The molded on chaps that go all the way around. God, it's just such a great figure. And it has so much history with me. So much history with me. Terry Funk. And then you got Valentine. Valentine is a almost perfect figure. I love the play pose. It's a spot-on face. And it was an absolute go-to figure in my childhood. Absolute go-to figure. All the time. All the time. The Funker got a world title run. I don't think Valentine ever did. He was always in it for the Intercontinental title. He was always a tag team champion. regardless of who wins this match, these two figures are probably, oh, not probably, they are in my top 5. So one of them is going home early, but they're both in my top 5. And I have to pick one, and I don't know. I really don't know. Oh, God. Whew. It really is a toss-up. I mean, Funk has very, very significant history in the Federation, but so does Valentine. And Funk was a guy that I created stuff with and did the whole Bruno retirement, and that was like that's a big part of childhood. But Greg Valentine is just a great figure. Guys, Greg Valentine defeats Terry Funk. Greg Valentine defeats Terry Funk. And I'm not sure why, but I'm not sure why Funk would have defeated Valentine. I just think that Greg Valentine was too much of a go-to figure. Funk played a big role. Valentine was too much of a go-to figure. Too much of a feel-good Greg Valentine versus Junkyard Dog, Greg Valentine versus Hogan, Valentine versus Tito, Steamboat. Too good of a figure. Tag team action. So did Funk, though. We had the Wild Desperados. Valentine defeats Funk. That's all I can say. All right, next up, the next round, or the next matches in the third round. We've got Brutus Beefcake taking on Randy Savage. We've got Harley Race, who some are surprised even made it this far. Harley Race takes on Bruno Sammartino. And in a shorter round, this is going to be a shorter round, the final match of round 3 has JYD taking on Don Morocco. So at the end of this, we're going to have 7 figures. We're going to have 7 figures. That's going to be weird. We need 8. We need 8 figures. I'll have to think about this. A wild card? A wild card? Quite possibly so, a wild card. We got to have 8. I can't have 7. Stay tuned. It's getting ugly. See you next time. Good night now.